putting in the chat some session reminders. Please keep your mics muted. There are going to be a lot of attendees in here. We want to make sure we get through our session. If you do have questions while Jerry is talking, I will be in the chat answering, typing as fast as I can to get all of those questions answered. Don't forget to engage and participate. If you do have questions, please, by all means, let's go through and get all of your questions answered. That way you can implement GoGuardian the next day. If you haven't already done so, this is very important. For auditing purposes, we need to make sure that you are getting your attendance in. So if you have not already registered for the session, I just put a link in the chat. It takes you directly to PeopleSoft. If you've already signed up, you're good to go. This does not need to be because you are needing points. This is just for attendance purposes. So please make sure you are signing in. If you do, in fact, want to follow up and get the recertification points, you will need to be in the session. So if you haven't already, please do so. I appreciate you doing that this morning. And from here on out, Jerry is going to take it away. So I'll let him rock and roll. Thank you, Jerry.
Yeah, good morning, everybody. Welcome to GoGuardian Teacher Training Beyond the Basics. We will make sure you get some resources as well. There is that bit.ly link there you'll see on your screen. Let me go ahead and grab the actual document for you. Do you want to use that bit.ly link? You're certainly welcome to.
I put it right in the chat for you, Jerry.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. I actually gave the actual other doc. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. All right, let's go ahead and let's continue on here. There we go. Thank you. So let me introduce myself. My name is Jerry. I'm one of the customer education specialists here at GoGuardian. I've been with GoGuardian now since 2021. Before that, I kind of sound like Lee a little bit. I was an elementary school teacher for quite some time. Did little specialist roles in educate and reading, excuse me, and ELA specialist, and then became a principal, and then later on became the director of technology. We were a GoGuardian district through and through. So I've been using GoGuardian now probably roughly around 9 years or so. So happy with this morning, and let's continue on. There's that bit.ly link if you want it one more time. It is case sensitive. Go ahead to the top right hand corner there. You're going to click on that use template, and then you will be able to make a copy for yourself. All right, learning objectives today. More than anything else, if we look at that bottom link or that bottom bullet point, excuse me, we want to make sure that you're just feeling excited and motivated to use Teacher further. We want to make sure that you're taking your learning to the next level. So we're going to look at those advanced features and functions of Teacher today. Maybe some of the things you weren't aware of before. Make sure we have a clear understanding of how GoGuardian Teacher can be used in different classroom scenarios. And then, you know, you've already been using it, so feel free to ask questions as you move forward today that may be specific to your needs as well. All right. So today's agenda, we'll do a very, 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 very short review of our 101 session, and then we're really going to dive more into our demonstration environment. The students that you're going to see over in our demonstration environment are not real students. They're just program bots. There is one student. His name is Nick. That's me. I'm Nick. So I've got Nick's computer right next to me, and I'll be portraying the role of a student as well today. All right, just a little review here. Just as a reminder, it is a tool to help monitor student browsing while you're in the classroom. When you run a session, remember that's during your class period. That's the class period of time. We call those a session. The students do need to be logged into their school email account for GoGuardian to work. If they're not logged in, GoGuardian's not going to work. Just the different commands that I'm sure you're very well aware of: open tab, close tab, lock device, and chat. And then individual student browsing history is that data that you can pull on students, whether it's chat history, whether it's browsing data. Well, there's a lot of different features there in terms of like grabbing data that you might need, and you can pull it from, 1 day to as many as 30 days, and you can actually go back 6 months at a time if you need to do that. All right. Just session. So I kind of harped on that a little bit. Let's do a little bit further. So that session time is that period of time that your class runs. Okay. So if I'm a high school math teacher, let's say, it is my periods. That's when I should be running my session. And the best practice is that you're only running those class sessions while you are the students are physically in your learning space. If they're not in your learning space, you shouldn't be running those sessions. You could be interrupting other teachers, and we don't want that to happen, because you don't want that to happen to you either. So again, you're going to be able to view their screens. You can click on start class every single time that you start a class. There is a way to schedule your classes too, and we'll show you that today as well. There we go. We can go on from that, Lee. We're good. I think we're good there. All right, let's dive right in. And I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Pull us up here. Over. I guess we're going to show this tab for now. That's probably just fine. All right, awesome. So when we go ahead and we start our session, and we can come over here to start class. All right. We're going to see all the students online, obviously. All these students that you're seeing currently right now are all Chromebook-based students. So all the students are logged in into the Chromebook, and that's where we're able to see them. All right, so if we think about starting our session, we have to come into our classrooms, and we have to hit start class, start class. You can pick, like you saw on the slide deck there, you can pick a custom end time and put the end time of your classroom in there. But the other option you would have, rather than going start class every single period and every single day and then ending that session, because that's super important, is to come over to what's called a calendar feature. And in our calendar feature, what you have the ability to do is build a schedule that's automatically going to start your class session. Literally, it's automatically going to start it and end it for you. You don't need to hit start or end anymore. It will do all of that for you. And so in order for us to do that, what we're going to do is we're going to click either on the blue button here, schedule a session, or come down here and schedule a session in white. I usually like to use the blue because it doesn't disappear. If I'm an elementary school teacher, I may only have one classroom to do this with. If I'm a middle school or high school teacher, I probably have multiple sections, and I'll have to do this multiple times. It is a manual process. So I'll just go ahead and do one quickly here for us. And we're going to go ahead and start it today. And then we're going to put the end date either at the end of the year, if it's a full year class, maybe it's the marking period, maybe it's a semester. In this case, it is a semester-long class, and our semester ends on the 16th of January. I want to make sure I end it the day after that. So we're going to go ahead, and it's always going to be the day after, no matter what. All right. So start time here, you'll notice that it's all on the half hour. Well, my class starts at 7:33. So there's no way to choose that 33. That's not a problem. Go ahead and type that in. Type it in correctly. There we go. And then it will save. And then we'll move forward and we'll put this end time in. And my end time is 8:45. And again, it's not on the quarter hour, so I need to type that in. It will automatically save for me. Now, if you have a normal Monday through Friday schedule, you're done. Your class is scheduled all the way through the rest of that semester. Okay. And if you did it for a year, you're done for the rest of the year. That's even better. If you do not have a Monday through Friday schedule, let's say you have a block schedule of some sort, you can do a custom schedule and say, let's say this class meets that from 7:33 to 8:45 Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. I could build another schedule, same dates, different times, obviously, make that custom and make the times Tuesday and Thursday a little bit different. It doesn't have to be every week. It could be an every other week type schedule as well. So you have some options there, but I would strongly encourage you to do that. It's one less thing for you to need to worry about. And then you don't need to necessarily worry about, okay, do I make sure I start my session today? Or, oh, I forgot to start my session. All those different feelings you might have when you forgot to either turn it off or turn it on. This will all of that will do that for you, excuse me. So the other nice thing about this is that it will start and stop by itself, even if you're not at school. So if I'm homesick, my schedule will run without me. It won't matter, which is really nice because, it's going to gather all that data for you. So Lee was kind of giving us that timeline view earlier here and in that slide deck. And so when we think about all that data that is being gathered when we have a class running, we're going to look at what's called that timeline view, and it's going to gather all that data for us. So when that class runs, again, by itself, because I scheduled it and I don't happen to be there that day and I'm sick, well, Timelines is going to grab all that data for you, and you can start seeing it coming in here. And what you're seeing here is the system's ability to grab all that data from when the classroom starts, the class period starts. So if I'm interested to see what our students are doing at that time, I can go ahead and click on these, and it will tell us that Gabby here is watching Coldplay for a minute. The other thing that you will see that you're not seeing on my end is your ability to see the other tabs. Yeah, I'm not sure why she's listening to Coldplay, but that's beside the point, I guess. But you'll see the other tabs as well in the background. My environment right now is a little glitchy, unfortunately, so we're not seeing those other tabs, but you will see those other tabs, okay? So I can always take a peek at that and see what's going on there. Looks like Nick was on Pear Deck for a little bit. Let's see. There's some iReady login. So you can see exactly what the students are doing. The other nice thing, and I know that you already know this when you come over to screens, is that you can expand your screen and see what's happening as well. Well, the nice thing about timelines is that if you just run timelines as your tab, which is completely fine to do, I see a lot of teachers actually do that, over where it says now, in that right-hand column there, if I click on Nick's now little icon, you're going to see it expands that tile for you, and then you have all that information that you're seeing there on Nick's end. You don't have to go back to screens to open that up. You can do it right from here and see that Morgan moved on from YouTube. Thanks, Morgan. Appreciate that. All right. So you have that ability in that now column right there. Also, in each of the students' names here, you'll see 3 little dots. In these 3 little dots, you can lock that student's device, which is one of those, really basic functions and commands. You can open a tab right from here. You can even exclude the student if you would need to. If you come over here to the chat, if chat was on, you could actually use those 3 dots to chat directly with that student. Let's take a peek at that real quick. Turn chat on, 3 dots, chat with the student, and it's going to open up their tile and chat directly with that student. Okay. So that is some little abilities there in that timeline view. All right. So when we think about reports also, what we want to think about is when we're looking at reports, is kind of like this timeline view. This kind of is somewhat of a report. And a lot of times I'll have teachers ask like, hey, well, what happens to this data when it ends? Like when the session ends, does this data go away? And actually it does not. If we come back to timelines just here, we can see all the timeline data here. But let's say it was last Friday, I was absent. You told me that it was going to gather all this data while I was gone because I built that schedule. Well, we can go into settings, and each of your classrooms is going to have a different set of settings. But you can go to view sessions, which is your first option here. Click on view sessions, and then we can go back to last Friday. And in fact, we can go back 90 plus days to see what was happening across the sessions that we had run. So here's one of them. We can view that session, and we can look at all that timeline data from last Friday, and everything is here, and we can see what was happening here. All right, you can see the screenshots that we took. If there was a classroom that we had screenshots taken, we can look at the commands as well. All this data is going to be here for you. Okay. If we come back again to that same timeline view, we should be able to also see any chat that we had during that time as well. So if we're going back to any of those history, let me go back to settings again and go view sessions here. We're going to see that chat log here. Click on Nick, and we can see what we had talked about that day as well. Okay. So that is your timeline view. It is a very nice way to go ahead and gather data for like everybody and everything that happened during those sessions. Now, if you wanted to look at an individual report, you certainly can do that. I kind of mentioned that earlier, but this is your ability to go in there and grab data on a large scale just for one student. And as we're looking for that one student here, and this generates, we're going to see the top 5 websites, documents, and Google searches that the student did during my class period. We're also going to look at the teacher interventions, how many times we've locked the screen, open tabs, close tabs, and block sites. We're going to talk block sites in just a few moments here. And screenshots, all the screenshots we took for the last 30 days are going to be here. Browsing history, all this browsing history for the past 30 days. So you've got pages upon pages upon pages of browsing history. And then also you've got your chat history here. Anything in the purple is when you made an announcement to the student or students. The light blue is going to be what the teacher said, and the dark blue is what the student said. So you have that in your student history here. Okay. Is there any other questions that I may be missing so far here? Yeah, the nice thing about the student history and this data, I just noticed these talking about parent-teacher conferences. Let's say you wanted a hard copy of this. You can certainly do that. Come up to email report. Come over here. You would just email this to yourself. It's going to attach it as a PDF. You don't have to have every piece of the puzzle in here. You can say, I just want to get rid of the top 5s. I don't need those. I just want to do the intervention, screenshots, and browsing history and chat history. You certainly can do that. Email that report to yourself, and then you have that moving forward and use it for parent-teacher conferences, 100%. Yeah, coach says, why is it sometimes that students doesn't appear on GoGuardian? It could be a number of different reasons. Yeah, it could be a technical glitch. There's a number of different reasons it could happen. It's usually, like Lee said, it's usually a technical glitch. So I would continue to work with your tech department to see if you can get that figured out. Question. Yeah, browsing history does go back for 30 days. If I need to, though, I can switch up my browsing history and go back over the past 6 months. So you'll just have to change your date ranges. Question? All right.
Jerry, there was one that came up. Some teachers have locked their students' screens. Can you showcase how to unlock them? Because that is on the main dashboard page into the individual.
Absolutely. So if we lock the student screen on the actions here, we can lock multiple students at the same time. If we wanted to lock just one individual, we could do that as well. Let's just say we locked the whole class. We get all the students here online. All right, go ahead and lock those devices. And then we're going to have a browsing disabled. They cannot do anything during that time frame. When we want to go ahead and unlock those devices, we can do that either individually, where I'm unlocking one at a time, or I can come up to unlock devices here, select unlock, select all my students and unlock devices, and they're back rolling again real quickly here. Yep, you're welcome. All right, let's talk. Jeff said when assigning IXL, I see the students on IXL, but they are getting their answers from somewhere online.
They are very smart, Jeff. They are smart. You're going to have to make sure that it is. And I know Jerry's going to talk about allowed and blocked. So Jeff, hold on to your seat.
Yeah, that's where we're headed. So thanks, Jeff. I appreciate the little introduction here to scenes. So with scenes, what we have is the 2 ways to basically determine what students can go to and what they can't. So you have the ability to do that with scenes. We have 2 different types of scenes. On the left-hand side, you're going to see the allowed website list. And on the right-hand side, you're going to see the blocked website list. So the blocked is a little bit easier, I'm going to be honest. So we'll start there first. So with a blocked website list, what we're saying is we're going to pick and choose which sites we want to block, meaning they cannot browse there. They'll get blocked, but they try to get to that site. So my guess is that someone in here can go ahead and throw in a website in our chat that is a site that you've seen students go to that might be distracting in nature. Anybody want to throw something in that you've seen? YouTube. All right, and Minecraft. All right, let's go ahead and do YouTube. And then we can do ChatGPT as well. All right, so we're going to go ahead and create this list, and we're just going to call this no distractions. You can see I've done this a couple times here. All right, and we're going to go next here. We're going to use this field, just like it says Minecraft right there, as a way to search for things that we want to take away. All right, so we'll go ahead and take YouTube away. We're also going to get other options here that it's always going to give us suggestions that we might want to block as well. I'm not looking for those right now. All right. I know that when I look up just ChatGPT, our system has not been able to find that for some reason. So I just go ahead and throw the actual kind of like the location, the URL there, and it finds it for me. Okay. And then we said Minecraft. There's probably 8 billion of them, but we'll see what we can do here. All right, classic Minecraft, net.com, Minecraft skins, Minecraft. See, that we've got all these suggestions, and we might as well just take anything away. Oh, we might as well add Roblox while we're here. Minecraft. We've already added YouTube. You can see there's tons of other suggestions there. So we've actually added 10 URLs that are going to get blocked during our class period. Okay. We can also set a tab limit. So this comes in really handy sometimes. So the most you can allow would be 9. If they try to open a 10th tab, they will get blocked. It will not let them do that. You can go down to 1 tab as well. So if you want them on like 1 document, 1 tab might work. All right. If they try to click on something and it's going to open in a new tab, they will get blocked. It won't allow it to open because you're only allowed that 1 tab. So be careful. You might want to practice 1 a little bit. All right, and see what's going to make the most sense for you. I think the sweet spot really is like 3, 4, or 5 tabs here. So let's go ahead with 4 tabs today. All right, and we're taking all these things away. We're going to take a look at this in action. So we're going to go ahead and save this. All right, we're going to come back to our class that's running. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to run and apply my scene from the action bar here. You'll see actions. Anytime I do any of these actions, all right, we can do those whole group. And in this case, I'm going to go ahead and do that whole group, and I'm going to apply a scene. All right, so when I apply a scene, let me go back real quick. When I apply a scene from this button, it's going to give us groups. It's going to put students in group A and group B. Okay, let's look what it does here. So I'm going to go ahead and apply this scene, select all my students to put this on, and I'm going to come down and find my new distractions block list or block scene. All right, and I'm going to go ahead and apply that scene. Now, if any students are in any of those URLs, they're going to go ahead and get blocked. All right. So let's go ahead and take a look at Nick here. Nick had a bunch of things open. Now he only has 4. Why is that? It's because we put that tab limit in place. You'll also notice that he was trying to get to YouTube. And now what it says is, hey there, it looks like you've reached a website your teacher doesn't want you to browse right now. If you think it's a mistake, please let your teacher know. It's not a mistake, y'all. That's a scene working. It's exactly what we wanted. So that's what teachers can do in terms of using a block list. And that's what the students will see when they get blocked. Okay. If there is something that you say, oh, well, I don't want to allow that either. Let's say, I don't know. Let me see if I can find something here. We come over here to Gabby. Looks like he's over on ABC Teach for some reason. Like, we don't need that. We could go ahead and block that site on the fly. And so that now, that URL is going to be added to that block scene moving forward. Okay, so we can go and update that scene, and we're going to watch abcteach.com get blocked by that scene automatically. All right, I can see over here, we got master multiplication facts. We're not supposed to be on that either. We're going to go ahead and update that scene, and that's going to get blocked as well. So I can continue to add blocks on the fly. When I come back over to my scenes and take a look at that scene that we built, no distractions. We should see a couple of new ones in here. Here it is. There's that multiplication facts and that abcteach.com that we added on the fly. Okay, so that is your block list in action. You can always auto open a tab as well. So if you want something to automatically open on their screens, you can use the scene to do that as well. So let's say I wanted IXL to open. All right, oops, yep, there we go. And I add that to that scene and update that scene, save that scene. All right, and then come back over here. What I'm going to do real quickly here is I'm going to turn the scene off, and I'm going to do it right from here where I'm disabling that scene. Okay, you can see I've got group A and group B, and I'll talk a little bit about that in a second here. When I come back over here and I put that scene back in place again, we should see the auto open of IXL, and there it goes. Everybody's getting now to IXL all at one time. I'm still blocking things, but I'm also auto opening something using that scene. Now remember, in that no YouTube scene or that distraction scene, we weren't allowing anybody to get to YouTube. Well, Nick says to me, hey, Mr. Johnson, you wanted me to do that YouTube video reflection piece, and I can't get to there because you're blocking it today. I was like, oh yeah, my bad. That's on me, Nick. I'll take care of that for you, Nick. And I'm going to move Nick down to group B where there is no scene applied. And now Nick will be able to do that. He'll be able to come over to YouTube, go watch that video, and then be able to do that reflection piece. When he's done, I see it turned in maybe. I can kind of monitor that if I needed to. I can move him back over when he's done and finished. And now group A again, and that's going to be removing YouTube moving forward. And he's also opening IXL automatically. There's the YouTube block, and IXL automatically open again for him. Okay, so there's a couple of different things you can do in terms of block scenes there. Yeah, you can add always, yeah, at least perfect. Yeah, you can always add a scene on the fly. You don't have to start with one. Yeah, so Robert, once we create a block list, will it remain for future class meetings? That's a great question. So you can either run it on the fly, or you could actually do what's called set a default scene. So let me get to that in just a moment, Robert, because I think that maybe that's what you're looking for. So before we leave this, let's just talk a little bit about our groups. I could go ahead and put, like I have already, that no distractions, but I could also apply a scene down here. So you can always apply scenes to different groups, and we're going to talk about groups in just a moment. All right, look what's happening at the very top here. I've got some scene conflicts. I'm glad this happened. So you can see that I've got a couple of teachers here, and it said, well, I've got multiple teachers there. I've got Tyler going on here. I got Spike. I've got Adi. These are all teachers in my district that are also applying scenes to some of my students. And I'd say I don't want that to happen. So I've got 5 students here in Spike Jackson. He's one of our teachers here. And I say, no, I don't want that to happen. Those kids are not physically with him right now. Remember when we talked early on about making sure your students are physically with you? Because when you're setting a scene and they're not physically with you, you could interrupt another teacher like Spike is doing with my class right now. So I'm going to go ahead and reapply my scene. That's going to kick them out of the other teacher's scene, and then they'll be back in my classroom again. All right. So you see the same thing here. I could do the same thing and kick them out. It looks like they realized that those students weren't in their classroom, and they ended their scene on their end. All right. So I'm glad that happened. So if we want to go ahead and turn off our scenes and our groups at the same time, you can come over here to student groups and disable groups. When you disable your groups, it turns all your scenes off all at the same time. Okay. So that's your block list or your block scene. And I'm going to go back to Robert's question about, can we just turn it on automatically all the time? Yep, we can do that. If we wanted to take that same scene that we just put in here, no distractions, we could come to these three dots and set this as the default scene. Let's say I go ahead and set this as my grade 4 scene here. All right, and I save this. What does that mean? Well, right now, we can see that my class, just a couple seconds or a couple minutes remaining here, there is no scene applied currently. So there's nothing running right now. Right? We can all agree to that. I'm going to go ahead and end my session. When I come back and start this session the next day, and I start the class, or let's say my schedule started the class for me, because that's what we really want to happen. But when my class starts, no matter if it starts manually, you can see that no distractions is already running. And when students come online here, they should be using only 4 tabs. They should also be being sent out to IXL, which we're going to start seeing here shortly. Okay, so that is the default scene. That could run automatically when the class starts or your class starts. And then when it ends, it will end as well. Okay, so that's a default scene. All right, I'll go ahead and disable that and let my class run here for a bit. All right, so other places you can set your default scenes. Let me just show you real quick. If I go into settings, right here, set a default scene. So that's a little shortcut. You don't have to go into scenes. You can do it right from the classroom page here. And then go ahead and put in no default scene if I want to do. Okay, so you have the ability to do that. All right, let's talk allowed list. The allowed list is basically much more restrictive. I noticed that early on, Lee was saying something about, maybe it was Jeff's IXL question. Maybe it was Jeff. Yeah, it was Jeff. In saying that an allow scene would be a better option here. So your allowed list basically says you can go here, here, and here, and then the rest of the internet is gone. It's going to be blocked. So you're being very restrictive. So in your case of IXL, that would be a good idea. You're only going to let them to get to IXL, and then everything else would be blocked. So it might look like this. So if I create a list, and I say only IXL, if I could type here. All right, and I say next, and I go ahead and look for IXL. All right, and then go ahead and allow IXL to come. If that's the only thing I want to let them have, then that's the only place that they're going to be able to go. I can also auto open it just like I did before. Okay. So let's go ahead and just do that. That's all we're going to allow them to do here. And I'm going to go ahead and save this. I'm going to come back to grade 4. And instead of running the scenes and applying my scenes from the button today, I'm actually going to apply it under the end session button. And when I do that, it won't create groups for me. So there's going to be times where you just don't want groups. You're like, I just want everybody on the same thing all at the same time. Okay, so let me get rid of Nick's IXL here. Right, go ahead and get rid of that. Actually, let me reset Nick here real quick. 1 second. There we go. Right, and I've got him doing a number of different tabs here. All right. So we should see Nick coming up here shortly. There he comes. All right, and he's got a bunch of different things open. All right. So now I'm going to go ahead and apply that scene from here because I don't want groups. I'm going to go find my new only IXL. I'm going to go ahead and put that in place. Okay. We are going to see a ton of blocks. Why is that? Because I didn't allow any of the things that Nick had going on previously. I didn't allow pair assessment. I didn't allow pair practice. Google.com. Well, snake.io, you can just get rid of that because he's not supposed to be on it anyways. YouTube, Pear Deck. I took all those things away because I ran my iExcel only scene or only iExcel scene. If Nick tries to go to Google and tries to look something up, he's going to try to do that right now. All right, he's going to go up to google.com and nope, not going to happen. All right, you saw a flash just real briefly there and it got blocked. Okay. He's like, fine, I'll go to iExcel. And then he's going to go ahead and get to iExcel. Brian, how many tabs do the students need to get Google Classroom through the district?
I was just writing in the chat, but it's a long one. If you would like assistance when creating scenes, please just reach out to me. I'll put my email in the chat. I can give you kind of like a breakdown when I share my scene. That way you can get through the authenticator, Clever, all of the fun stuff that we need for students to get through the portal.
Yeah, since you're using Clever, great point. There are going to be little hoops that you have to jump through, because when you go through Clever, and let's say you're trying to get to iExcel, it's going to single sign on that student to iExcel. As Lee mentioned, there's little tiny like jumps or hoops that you have to get through to get over to iExcel, and those might get blocked. The nice thing about that is that if you're trying to get that figured out, I'm glad that Lee's willing to help you out with that, because it is somewhat going through Clever sometimes is a little bit more difficult. But if you find that and you're like, my students can't get there for some reason, and you're looking at some website and you're like, I don't even know what this is, but let's just go ahead and give it a try. You can go ahead and unblock that page or maybe the whole site. When you do that, you can do that on the fly, and then it's going to update the scene just like I updated the scene to block things. Now we're updating the scene to allow more things. So you certainly can update that scene, and then the students get to the things that they need to get to based upon what you just allowed. Right? And then we're going to look at Nick now, and Nick's going to be able to get to the thing I just allowed. And it happens like that on the fly. Okay. All right. Perfect. So that is your allow scene. Lee mentioned being able to share scenes. So what Lee's done is she's already built, let's say, a scene called like quiz time. All right, this is one that I created. I can go ahead and share my scenes. So if you have a colleague or maybe yourself, and you found our scene that is working perfectly for you, and you're like, this is awesome, this works great. And you go ahead in your team meetings, in your grade level meetings, or your core content meetings, or however you do your PLCs, and you're like, hey, I got this scene that works perfectly. Let me share this with you. All you need to do is click on that share. And we found that by going to those three dots again, going to this share icon there. And then you're going to copy that share link and just send it to them. Or you can email it to them directly from here if you want to as well. Now, here's the caveat for shared scenes. I don't know if Lee's experienced this or not, but I'm the owner of this one. I shared it with Jackie. Jackie can use my scene, but she can't do any editing or revising of that scene because she's just a viewer. It's view only privileges. Meaning, since I'm the owner, if I remove something or add more to it, and Jackie ends up at my doorway and says, dude, what are you doing with that scene? That scene was perfect. Why are you messing with it? Well, I was the owner of that scene. And so, sorry, I guess. I was trying to be nice to help you out. So if Jackie finds one that is like perfect, I always, and I see that you put that in the chat too, I come down to the being shared with you and make a copy for yourself. That is key. That's very key. Let's say Lee, not that she's going to, But let's say Lee shared all these scenes with you guys and you never made a copy. And all of a sudden Lee leaves the district. Not going to happen, folks. Won't happen. But let's say Lee leaves the district, her account gets disabled. She was the owner of that scene. She's taking that scene with her, y'all. You're not going to be able to use it anymore. So make a copy. If you found one that's working really, really well for you, make a copy. Okay, then you have it. It's yours now. You don't have to rely on someone else. All right, so make a copy is key. All right, let's move forward here. Any other questions on scenes at all that we have not answered yet? I think Lee's got it under control. Yeah, let's go to student groups next. So let me go back to my classroom here and let's talk student groups. Let me go ahead and remove that scene real quick. So under more actions here, let me go back from the very top. You've got your name in the top right-hand corner. You've got end session. You've got no scene applied, more actions. And under more actions is student groups. And you can see that I've got the ability to create new groups. All right, there's two types of groups. There's custom groups, which are going to be much better, in my opinion. But we also have what are called random groups. If I need to create a random group, let's say you do partner work and you just want to make random groups, that's fine. Let's go ahead with some partner work here. They're going to put all the students in groups themselves. Oh, look at that. I've got a group of one. I don't want that. Diane, you're going to be in that group. And I say next. I don't have to name it. And I just go ahead and save and create my groups. Bianca, Chris, you're in a group today. Afshin, Rebecca, you're in a group. Morgan, Jeff, you're a group today. Brian, Nick, you're a group, et cetera, et cetera. So that's just a real quick way to go ahead and make groups. All right. So if you do some type of partner work, it's going to do it for you. You don't have to, it won't remember it. It didn't save it. If you wanted to save those groups, you could by naming it and giving it a title and then save, but you don't have to do that. You'll notice also, since I'm here, I have the ability to open a tab for this group. I also have the ability to make an announcement for this group. It's one of those other communication features. Or if, let's say, this group was leaving the classroom a bit, I could exclude that group. Or maybe they're going to see an interventionist. I could exclude that group for a while. And when they come back, I can re-include them again. So you have some options there. You'll also notice you can apply scenes per group, all right, which is going to take us to customize groups. So let me come back to student groups here and disable these groups and get them all back in the same class again. Now with student groups, I'm going to create groups. We will create a custom group. I want you to think about using custom groups for like differentiation, intervention. And you may be asking yourself, how? So that's a good question. So what we're going to do is we're going to create our custom groups based upon some intervention that we're going to do. And it could be differentiation. It could be a number of different things. But let's say this is my intervention group 1, and I'm going to put Baran and Diane, Tyler, Afshin, Bianca. They all need the same content. All right. This next group is going to be my intervention group 2. All right. It's going to help me out a little bit, save a little time. There we go. 2. I'm just going to put the rest of the students in here just to save a little time for us today. I could make multiple groups. It doesn't have to be 2. What I will tell you is that if you don't have a student in a group, you can't move forward. Every student has to be in a group. All right, let's go ahead and name this intervention Palm Beach, and we're going to go ahead and save and create our groups. Now, great, Jerry, you make groups. You told me that all these kids needed the same thing, and all these kids needed the same thing. Right, I did say that. So my intervention group 2, I'm going to have you only do IXL right now. And for intervention group 1, I'm going to have you go take a quiz. Okay, so I've previously thought through what needs to be in each of those scenes. More than likely, they're going to be allow scenes. They could be block scenes, but more than likely, they're going to be allow scenes because you want them all going to the same content. And so you can do that using scenes and groups at the same time to, plan some of that instruction out ahead of time. Now, you're already doing that planning ahead of time anyways. You might as well try to use scenes to keep them on task rather than having to fight that battle of making sure that they're doing what they need to do. Use groups and scenes at the same time to make sure your students are getting what they need. Okay. Here's a nice feature as well. Let's say Chris is really fine, but I need him to go take that quiz. I forgot he needed to take that. I can move him back over there, and now he's going to be in that quiz time group. And let's say our time ends and we're going to move back into another topic. We're switching gears now, and I want to get them out of those groups. Day goes by, students come back into class tomorrow, and I want to get them back in those groups again. It's going to save that for me. And I can come down and find that group that we had, and it's going to put them right back into that group. You'll notice that it remembers what scene they were in, and it remembered that Chris was moved from intervention 2 to intervention 1, and it picks up where it left off. All right. So definitely make use of groups and scenes at the same time. Any questions on groups at all? Wasn't seeing anything there. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and disable those groups and get them all back together again. So there is one feature, and it's called lecture and presentation mode, that I think is probably one of the better things in GoGuardian Teacher. And you're gonna find that in 2 locations. It's the same tool, but in 2 different locations. And we actually call it 2 different things. I'm not sure why, but we do. So you're going to find under this Call Students tab here, the lecture and presentation mode. And that's basically what I said, right? I said lecture and presentation mode. All right. But if I come back to screens and I come back to my action bar, under more actions, the same option is called present screen, which I actually prefer that naming convention, present screen, because that's what we're going to do. In this case, what we're going to do is we're going to present what is on our screen to the student. Meaning, I'm going to take whatever is on my teacher screen or monitor or flat panel or projector or whatever you have, and I'm also going to put it directly onto the student's screen on their Chromebook. Okay, so I'm going to present that screen where it says it's optional. Well, that's what we want to do in this case. And then I'm also going to use this tool called Lock Students into that presentation. It does say it's optional, but I have a tendency to make sure that the students are paying attention. They're not browsing someplace else. Well, let's say we're going through a rubric or we're doing a presentation of some sort. I want them all on task. I want them all in the same place at the same time. And I don't want them wandering off. I'm going to go ahead and select the students I'm going to present my content to. In this case, I'm only going to present Nick. There's a reason I'm doing that. Remember, these are bots except for Nick. I'll tell you why I did that. I'm choosing what to share. And then let's go ahead and just share that slide deck that we were just starting with here. All right, I'm going to go ahead and select that slide deck. I'm going to go ahead and share this. All right, if I come back to my classroom, and I come back over to scenes here, and screens, excuse me, we're seeing that there is Nick seeing the exact same thing that I'm seeing. You can see your teacher's presenting. You are unable to browse other websites while your teacher is presenting. I come back to my presentation. I go forward a couple of slides. Nick should also be going forward a couple of slides as well. That's a little laggy, a little bit. Honestly, it's probably my internet today. But as I move forward here, all right, Nick is going to see the same thing. Okay, there it goes. When I'm done, I can go ahead and just stop sharing, completely stop sharing here. All right, and then let me come back over to GoGuardian Teacher here. Oh, I just lost my screen view here. Give me 1 second. There we go here. There we go. And I'm going to go ahead and see what I'm seeing or not. Just, all right. Did I miss am I not sharing anymore?
I don't see it.
Yeah, let me go back. Sorry, there you go. So you see
You're
here at
good
the
now.
bottom where it says, yeah, thank you, stop presenting here. So I'm going to go ahead and stop presenting.
Yeah,
Comes. There
very,
it goes.
very,
Your
very
teacher stop
laggy.
presenting.
If you want to turn off the camera,
Yeah,
maybe to help. Sorry.
yeah, that's fine. Thank you for letting me know. All right, so your teacher stopped presenting. You may now close this tab. So that's what students are going to see. That's why I didn't want to show you as a whole class, because again, those students they don't have fingers. They can't close those things. So again, we'll go ahead and stop sharing here. All right. All right, so topics that we covered today. I'm just going to bring this across here. We talked about previous session information, going back in the historical preview. We talked about scheduling, making sure you can schedule ahead of time, filtering with scenes. We talked about sharing those scenes. We talked about making default scenes, making sure you have presentation, and also using that presentation mode at the end there. And we also talked student groups and how you can use student groups for differentiation and other features as well. All right. Any questions that we didn't get covered for you yet today?
If you do have them, you can put them in the chat. We'll go through the couple housekeeping and we can loop back around to the question side because we have Jerry on the line, who's the expert on here. Jerry has a lovely feedback form. I'm putting that in the chat now. If you don't mind giving him some feedback, we'd love to have him and appreciate him being here this afternoon. I don't know if you want to speak more about this, Jerry.
Yeah, this feedback form does not go back to your district, just an FYI on that. It's just for us at the GoGuardian end of things to make sure we are delivering content that you appreciated. And if you have any feedback, please give it to us.
Perfect. So ELM, we do make sure that you are registered. You're also probably wondering, hey, where can I provide more resources? We do have an EdTech training website. You'll see the little tile icon in the left-hand corner. That is a tile in your portal. If you didn't already know, it's very helpful. I did put the link in the chat in case you have never visited before and need a little additional assistance. It also lists different courses in ELM that we have available to you. We do have an asynchronous GoGuardian course in case you need a little bit more assistance, and also previous recordings. If you haven't heard yet, we have our annual tech conference coming up on February 18th at Dr. Joaquin Garcia High School. We are looking for fantastic presenters, and that presenters can be you and your colleagues. We want to hear from you and how you are utilizing EdTech tools. So we are putting in the chat, call for presenters, a link to get you or your team to present some really great tech features. Maybe you're rocking GoGuardian out in your classroom, and we would love to see how you utilize it best. And then, how do we earn points? Great question, Teresa. So you will, if you were registered in the ELM course, you will then go to module 2, which is for implementation, and you will be able to upload how you utilize GoGuardian in the classroom. So that is another way, if you would like to earn points, that is there for you. Before we get to the rest of the questions, I did want to include our mailing list. I swear we don't spam you. We only do a couple trainings a year, so we will send out emails. We do have a feedback form that I just put at the very bottom of my last. I'm actually going to pin it so you can do. That lets us know, how do you think we did? If this is content that you would like, if you needed more support, longer sessions, please, by all means, fill out the feedback form. It really helps our team manage and produce more content for you. If that is all and you have no other questions, I appreciate you being on this morning. I hope you are bundled up with a nice cup of coffee or hot chocolate, depending on how you're doing this morning. And I hope you have a great rest of your day. Me and Jerry will be on for any further questions. Other than that, have a fantastic afternoon.